This is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Tech Council. I have the honor and privilege of hanging out with Comcast to tell our 50 summer stories of Pittsburgh tech. And it's going by fast. We only have maybe 11 or 12 more of these stories to go. And I'm kind of getting a little sad, but we're going to keep telling stories even after we get past 50, because we are talking to people like we're going to talk to you today that are just making me so excited for what's going on in this region. And I say, Pittsburgh, I always say, is like Western Pennsylvania to a certain degree. It's like we have so many great communities around us that really build up Pittsburgh and make this whole region just super awesome. Today, we're going to be focusing on the big idea competition, which I think is so cool. And we've got some great guests. We have people that participated and won in this event. And I think this is just an awesome way to really just keep the entrepreneurial juices flowing, despite anything that's going on with COVID. And before we jump into it, I just want to introduce Marilyn Kale. She's going to tell us a little bit about the big idea competition and what it's all about. And then we're going to introduce our guests today as well to hear about their really cool companies, because these guys are working on some great stuff. And what I love about it, there's a diversity of stuff. We're talking about education technology. We're talking about autonomous driving technology. It just goes to show you, no matter what it is, we're whipping it up here in the region, that's for sure. So Marilyn, thanks first off for pitching this out to me. I didn't know this happened, and you reached out and like, yes, we want to talk about this. This is a great story. So thank you for reaching out. I would not have known this happened, unfortunately. Like I said before, I'm like chained to my second bedroom here, and I don't get out much anymore.
Well, we're all kind of chained, I think, a little bit right here. At least we don't have to have a mask on right now, right? We're
exactly. I can breathe.
So maybe that helps a little bit. But sure, I'm happy to tell you about Big Idea. The Big Idea event, really a contest and competition, took place in June. And just like all the Pittsburgh tech events, it happened virtually because of COVID. But even so, more than 100 participants zoomed on in to watch 6 innovative entrepreneur finalists compete for a pool of $50,000 and the People's Choice Award.
Okay.
So that they could have a little bit more money to take their business to the next level. The Big Idea contest is co-sponsored by Ben Franklin Technology Partners, and I'm sure a lot of folks know about them. They've been driving innovation across Pennsylvania for more than 30 years. And a newcomer, slight newcomer, Startup Alleghenies. Startup Alleghenies, we kind of think of it as a movement to provide free support to entrepreneurs across 6 counties in Pennsylvania, but the impact generally reaches the region, the state, and with our entrepreneurs, sometimes the country and the world, as you'll learn as you talk to these guys. So I think that's probably about it. Startup Alleghenies, these guys are enrolled. We're thrilled to have them, and along with our wonderful partner, Ben Franklin Technology Partners and the Appalachian Regional Commission, can't forget because they made it all happen.
They're all doing some great work and they're making this type of stuff possible. So let's jump into this. Like I said, I want to start with the People's Choice Award. I always like the People's Choice Award because people are seeing something special going on there. Plus, I have a penchant for all things about autonomous vehicles and everything like that. So we have with ourselves today, we have Ankit, Patel here from Meerya.
Thanks for having us on the podcast. And sure, we'll get started with exactly what we do here at Meerya, and we're focused on making your car horn useful. So we do a lot of customer discovery with people who are drivers, which are a majority of Americans, as well as global citizens. And the one thing that we hear about is horns are aggressive, they're monotone, as well as they're loud. And so we want to give it utility, because that's a critical safety warning device to the Department of Transportation. And as vehicles get smarter and the paradigm shift in autonomous driving, as well as electric vehicles, fuel cell electric vehicles, your horn really hasn't changed as much. And so we have all these alerting systems because everyone's distracted, whether it be a driver at a green light or a pedestrian crossing a pathway. There has to be some sort of alerting system that can really adapt to all the distractions that we have in our world. And your horn really hasn't been updated in the last few decades. And so what we've done is we're taking the horn and we're making it digital. And so that the sounds that it creates aren't as harsh, they aren't necessarily as loud, and they're not as aggressive. So for different scenarios, for let's say vehicles that are autonomous, uh, we'll use Argo as an example, because you see them all across Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
If the vehicle has the algorithm detects that there's a 50% chance that a pedestrian doesn't see this vehicle coming, instead of having the typical horn blare at 110 decibels, it can vary the volume automatically.
A gentler, kinder horn then, right? But still
A-
giving you a warning, but not like warning the heck out of you.
Exactly. And so it varies the volume, the tone, and the sound. And the exciting part about it is that electric vehicles are starting to become a bigger part of our ecosystem.
Right.
And they have to have some sort of sound they emit now since last year to 2019. And you have vehicles like Teslas, soon to be Rivians, Lucids, that have to have a speaker as well as a horn. We have a device that can do both. And so that's going to save companies money. And so what it'll do is you can have the frequency flexibility of between 20 to 5 kilohertz to something that is of a horn, which is a lower frequency range. And so we want to add that versatility, not only to save companies money, but to also increase safety, as well as bring utility to your horn, especially if we think about Pittsburgh with the self-driving space. How are vehicles going to warn not just other vehicles but other entities like pedestrians and cyclists?
Definitely.
Me personally, I don't want to hear 110 decibels each time.
No, exactly. I mean,
And
and sometimes like I want to hit my horn, but like it's too loud. And like I'm not hitting it to be loud. I'm hitting it just to let you know. So if there's something at like a half amount with a friend, they're like, "Hey, could you get moving?" As opposed to a get moving. I
absolutely.
think
And
that's amazing. No, that's just so. So where did this idea come from? This is what I get so jazzed about, because it's like no one's thinking about horns. You're thinking about horns. Like, I mean, come on.
So we only have a few 10 minutes to talk about, but it's a long story.
Okay.
It began with my father. He grew up in India, and he's an electrical engineer. And so he developed a scooter horn because a lot of people were coming to him to replace their scooter horns.
Okay.
And what he realized was that they're power hungry devices. And so he developed something that was not only more energy efficient, but it ran off the alternator of the scooter.
Okay.
And so he started manufacturing to bigger companies. Long story short, he moved to the U.S. And got into the hotel industry. Insert Indian stereotype.
I love it. No, that's so awesome, man. It's a great story.
And so I worked at Procter & Gamble, and I used to walk to work in Cincinnati. And one day I came across a cyclist that was merging into a vehicle's lane, and that cyclist was on their phone, not realizing the vehicle was passing them. And luckily for the cyclist, the vehicle swerved out. And I kind of thought to myself, how are future vehicles supposed to communicate to a cyclist? And I thought as myself as a driver, I'd use my horn. But then I'm like, I'm afraid to use my horn personally because, as you said, it's loud, it's aggressive.
You startle people. So I'm a cyclist. When people honk at me, like, don't honk at me. I know you're behind me. And when they do, you get startled like this, and you can swerve your lane a little bit. It just goes to show you.
Absolutely.
So you have horns like in your blood. I mean, this goes back to your dad. That's like so amazing.
It goes back to my dad, and it's kind of crazy to think that, it's such a device that when we think about it, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
Really, it's funny. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mark Ruber.
No.
He does a lot of YouTube videos. He's a former NASA engineer, and he goes through it really in a detailed process with his video about creating a politer horn. And,
a politer horn.
And so he developed this video going through about how he installs it in his car, and how when you think about your car, you only have one built-in tool to help you audibly communicate, and that's your horn. And everything we do in our lives, we email, we text, we are on the phone, we have so many communication tools that when it comes to your vehicle, you only have one tool. And so it kind of made me think about how do we increase the versatility of the
I love it.
medium.
I mean, I can see why you were the People's Choice Award. I mean, like that's just, to me, is just a unique and novel solution that's something that's really important. And obviously it comes down to safety, bar one. So I'm super pumped for you. So I'm going to switch gears back a little bit. I want to talk to April and Timothy Kretchman from action-driven education, which I think I like the name of your company because I'm feeling like stuff's going to happen with a name like action-driven. So guys, you are the big winners of this thing. That's pretty crazy. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we've appreciated all the support we've received all the way through this. So it's been quite an adventure.
I can imagine too. So how long have you been working on this this company for? And how's like education your passion?
Yeah, well, if you count our education time in there, it's quite a while. I was in education for 22 years.
Okay.
Equal amounts of time there. But as teachers, we did learn, first of all, that action is what changes the world. So that's why we named our company what we did, Action-Driven Education. But our goal as educators is to come up with ways to change it for the children that are struggling the most to learn, those being children with disabilities.
Right.
So what we've developed is our ACOMOD system,
okay,
which stands for accommodations and modifications, ACOMODs. And what they are, they're detailed descriptions of ways to empower a child past their disability so that they're able to learn despite the fact that they may have a disability that might be back otherwise.
Very cool. Very cool. So tell me more, how does this work exactly? And tell me about the different types of disabilities that this works with. Because I mean, I've actually been doing a lot of interviews with folks that are in the education field. I've been hearing like a lot about like, I'm not a parent, but I'm learning now more and more that there's so many children with different types of disabilities now, and that there's really being, I guess, more recognized in this day and age. And they're so impactful. And so to have a tool that can help them get past this, I think it's just really exciting.
Well, disabilities are obviously the category that we work with, although we really try to drill it down to needs. You know, so many people will struggle with an aspect of learning, even if they are or are not identified with a disability. So maybe you're a child that struggles with like attention or being able to read, reading comprehension, for example, or maybe you might struggle with fluency with your math facts, or a short-term memory difficulty, for example. And then you get into disability categories like autism and specific learning disabilities as well. So our goal is to help teachers and parents who are ultimately responsible, I guess you'd say, for finding ways to educate these children. And our goal is to put out as many of these ACOMODs as we possibly can and organize them in an online system that's designed to gather from the user input about the child that you're specifically thinking about. So we talk about their strengths, their needs, and gather a little bit of input from them so that we can return to them some suggestions, some ideas for ways they can overcome this child's disability.
That seems like the key to me right there, because you're obviously going to be confronted with a plethora of things in which to pick from. So being able to narrow that down to get to the right ones quicker would probably make a huge difference, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's been what took us the most amount of time. We've been working on developing our ACOMOD system for 3 years now.
Okay.
And what took us the most amount of time was that ability to weed it down, to take from hundreds down to a handful that are the most appropriate for a child. And in addition to that, then once they find the ACOMOD or two that suits the child's need, we then support them through implementation. So in the details of our ACOMODs are guidance for the teacher or the parent to say, consider this accommodation. And then once you decide that it's the right one, then there's details to help them implement it in the classroom as well. So almost like a roadmap from beginning to end to help them find a way to support a child.
That's amazing. And this is a subscription-based model as well, too. So,
so what we do is our primary goal is to impact as many children's education as we can. So we try to sell to school districts all the way over to individual subscribers. So if there's a parent or a teacher that's interested as an individual, we have a subscription for them as well. And we basically provide that all through our website at actiondriveneducation.com.
I love it. I love it. And I'm assuming, with the whole COVID pandemic and so many people having to school from home and everything like that, that this is even more important than ever right now, huh?
It is definitely exceptionally important. We tailor the system to children with special needs, but we're actually trying to help teachers, general education teachers, special education teachers, teach them in the least restrictive environment. So we want them back in that regular education classroom, and with some small tweaks and some unique ideas, you know, we can help them pass their disability. So whether that's providing them with a set of guided notes or just something that will assist that student to reach their fullest potential in that regular education classroom. And eventually we're all going to be back to face-to-face instruction. So not
You
only
are? Please say it's true.
we are, I promise. So, you know, we're not only looking at virtual accommodations and modifications currently, but eventually we're going to need to, you know, assist the students, support the students and the parents and the teachers to get them back to face and try to get them where they need to be and to learn to their fullest potential.
Absolutely. So tell me about, I mean, winning this is a big deal. I mean, I think that's pretty amazing stuff. I mean, besides getting a nice chunk of cash, which can mean all the difference toward getting your company to the next level, what kind of connections and things have you made from this as well, too?
Well, I have to tell you, I'm pretty famous for a really poor YouTube video where they caught me saying, "I'm just a teacher. I don't know what I'm doing."
Okay.
What I was talking about in that now infamous video is the fact that when it comes to running a business, I was a teacher with an idea. And while I can teach and help children with special needs, I didn't have any idea how to begin a business. And the infrastructure that was mentioned earlier with the Startup Alleghenies and the Ben Franklin, so many times when you just go like this and, you know, hold your head and think, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I'm not a business person here. Like, I need that insight, right?
I kind of learned early on that the minute I had that feeling, I need to just reach out to somebody in that ecosystem. And they definitely, it's been tremendous help, not just on the financial side of things, and maybe even more so than the financial side of things is the support of the system, the folks that are there to help us.
I would often say, yeah, I mean, the cash is like the icing on the cake, but it's the connections and the support that you're getting that are really the most beneficial to the company. So I'm curious, Ankit, what are your thoughts? I mean, being the People's Choice Award through this, in your experience going through this, how helpful was it for you to make new connections and really, because you're entering a pretty crazy cool market there. I mean, the barrier to entry can be pretty tough, but I'm assuming going through this process is definitely, hopefully, brought that down a little bit for you, maybe?
Absolutely. And so here, at least in Bedford County, the BCDA, or the Bedford County Development Association, they're part of Startup Alleghenies. They have a startup coach who I think has just been awesome, Andrew, and he's kind of helped me kind of reshape and kind of reword the company so it's not so technical, and that I can the actual people can understand it, because that was a big challenge for me, is because as you can imagine, I talk to a lot of audio engineers, software engineers, and so they just want to, you know, they want to cut to the chase, and so I have to take a step back and explain it. And so they've done a great job. He's got me in touch with the Ben Franklin partnership in State College, doing the Tech Accelerator. And so that has helped a lot with understanding how to really, you know, come across quickly. How do you have your value proposition, your customer discovery? A lot of that has been something that, you know, I've read, you know, the Lean Startup, but to actually go through the Startup Owner Manual from Steve
exactly, right,
in detail, you realize that, okay, I could have done this a lot differently. And so, like, going back into it and having those resources to really, you know, grasp all of that has just been, it's been really amazing, considering the location that we're in. You don't think that there would be that many resources, but there are a lot more resources that there were 5-10 years ago.
Exactly. And now that we're all accustomed to Zoom, like, you can be anywhere now and start building your company, honestly. And so I would say, yeah, I would be in a beautiful part in Bedford County trying to start my company. That's for sure. Get away from the hustle and the bustle if all I could. So congratulations to both you guys. All around, just great work. And this is the type of thing that I think is just really making our region just completely cool. And so, Marilyn, like, when's the next one? How can people plug in and you know, be part of it and get part of the competition?
Well, there are some tech accelerators coming up. Ben Franklin and Startup Alleghenies also co-sponsor tech accelerators, as well as Big Idea. I think the best thing to do is go to startupallegenies.com and see what the schedule of events is. There's always a listing of events and what you need to qualify.
Perfect. And I really encourage everyone to do that, because I mean, I just love the fact that people, like teachers, I have an idea, I can see a better way, turn to a company. I know there can be a better horn, like turn it into a company. I love it. I just think it's so cool, man. I just love what you guys are all up to. And I cannot thank you enough for being part of our Summer of 50 Pittsburgh Tech Stories. Great stuff all the way around, guys. Congratulations once again on your success to date.
Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jonathan.